Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Global Pain Association Forum on an issue involving chronic pain. My name is Ron Aaron Eisenberg. I have the pleasure of serving as your moderator today. I have a long history in moderating medical and quasi-medical related shows, and chronic pain is an issue that if you do any work in the medical field, you will come across it. Millions of people suffer from chronic pain in this country, and the purpose of the Global Pain Association, as organized and founded by Dr. Susan Blackwood, is to provide information, help, and relief for those struggling with chronic pain. Now, we have been coming to you for the past 18 weeks with very interesting topics, and today is no exception. Today we take up You Are Not Alone, support groups for chronic pain. And we have two experts who are joining us. One is Rebecca Christopherson. She is a registered nurse and an MSSW, a board member of the Global Pain Association, and a woman who has struggled with chronic pain for many, many years. Rebecca lives with severe systemic lupus erythematosus. She also is dedicated to helping those with lupus who are in need of emotional support and community resources. She's also a wife and a mother and a dog lover, and knows the positive impact support groups have on the entire family. We also have with us an expert in support groups, someone who has dealt with tragedy in her own life. Sheila Brown is support group and peer mentoring coordinator with Connectability at Warm Springs. In 2002, Sheila became a quadriplegic. She quickly discovered the need for spinal cord injury support groups in San Antonio and started the first support group in 2004. Since then, Sheila has coordinated many support groups and is an advocate for the disability community. And why don't we kick it off with Sheila? First of all, both of you, welcome. Delighted to have you on with us on this special edition of Global Pain Association's Support Group Extended. So Sheila, for those who don't know, what is the 411 on support groups?
Well, Ron, thank you. Ron, support groups have had a stigma for a long time that it's where you go and everybody cries and whines and it says how much pain they're in. But support groups are it's like a second family. It's somewhere where you go and you feel comfortable around people, and we have over 17 different support groups for different disabilities. A very large chronic pain support group, and they have fun, they do activities, they play games, go to outings. So support groups now are different from what everybody thinks a support group is.
Now, if you're struggling with chronic pain, or as in your case, you become a quadriplegic, lose the use of your limbs, don't know how to deal with that, is a support group something that can help you?
Absolutely. Support groups is, like I said, like a second family, and you learn from others. You may have an issue with one thing in your life, and somebody else may have had that same issue, and they can recommend ideas or give you suggestions that might assist you. And so it's kind of like a sharing of education and just helping each other out. You really become like a second family with your members.
Let me turn to Rebecca for just a moment. Rebecca, thank you also for coming on. Tell us about the pain that you have struggled with.
Well, in 2006, I had cervical spine surgery, and it was of no one's fault, but I ended up post-surgery with a condition called partial complex pain syndrome, or RSD, reflex sympathetic dystrophy. And the McGill pain scale is the standard used in the medical community to measure pain, and it's the highest number on the McGill pain scale. I dealt with that for 2 years until it was finally diagnosed, and it's incapacitating. But at the same time, I kept telling everyone I felt like an old 85-year-old ex-NFL running back that had been overused. Come to find out, I was diagnosed with lupus, which has become, in my course, severe lupus. So I suffer with severe joint pain, myalgias, muscle aches, extreme fatigue, just um, arthritic. You feel arthritic. It's very painful, but you got to keep on and keep going.
And
So,
how did you come across support groups?
um, well, I used to be a grief counselor at MD Anderson, so I knew how effective they were. I led a group with another counselor for patients, families of critically ill patients there. Um, so I knew how effective they were, and I go to infusion, quite a couple different infusions every few months, and I found that this group of people with different types of autoimmune diseases and different types of pain, we would become a support group when we were there. And it, to me, you spend 6 to 8 hours in there, and you get to know people, and they share their stories. You share your story. You say, one will say, well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? And, I'm better, and you'll pull through it. And for me, coming out of there, for me, it's very similar to a very positive, inspirational church service where you come out re-energized. I'm going to, take on the world, because also telling your family how you feel all the time. I mean, you can't unload on your family for years and years and years. And also the sport groups, that's the only place where they get you. You get each other. You
Right, now
one
hold that thought. That's a good thought. I want to jump to Sheila because in some ways they get you resonates with me, Sheila. How about you?
It is. It is. And like Rebecca was saying, you can only unload so much on your family. And in these groups, everybody understands. And even if we have several groups that are multi disabilities. And even though there's MS and there's spinal cord and different disabilities, they still understand the pain that you're in. That if you're in a chair and you're sitting, that somebody who's taking care of you doesn't understand that there's pain. And so the people that you're around, they understand you, and you do leave feeling like, I can do this. They can do it. I know somebody I can contact if I need to talk to somebody. And that's the important thing about support groups, is you do have somebody that you can talk to. And communicating with others, whether it's the same disability or not, just knowing that somebody else is understanding.
Now, I know that with support groups, we think often of the individual who's struggling with the issue. But when we think about, for example, alcoholism, Al-Anon as a support group for family members, are there support groups for family members of those like you who have someone who's a quadriplegic or someone with lupus? Sheila, are they invited?
Absolutely. We have a very unique caregiver support group. And with it, our caregiver support group is inviting all caregivers, not just a caregiver of a certain disability. Because the support group is about that person and not the person they take care of, or the person or the disability that person has they take care of. So it's it's a group that they can go to, and they can share and talk about their feelings and their emotions that they have to, because they need to go into a group and come out saying, I can do this. It's not something, it's not the end of the world.
How do you get people to go?
Well, it's very challenging. I approach a lot of people, and they'll say, oh, no, I don't need a support group. I've been like this my whole life. And then I tell them, I said, you're the perfect person for a support group because you can teach and help others. You can inspire others. You've had this your whole life, and look at you, you're wonderful. So there's not a support group that no one belongs to. Everybody needs a support group.
Now, the world has changed. Everything is upside down and backwards. Support groups used to mean you went somewhere, you all sat down in chairs, or some stood or whatever, and you were face to face. In light of COVID 19, support groups now more and more are virtual. How does that work out? And Rebecca, have you been to a virtual support group?
Yes, I have. And the organization of Global Pain and volunteering with Global Pain is a support group for me because we are talking about people with chronic pain. Many of the people involved have chronic pain, so that's a support group. There needs to be more. I have not been able to find a lupus support group, and I would think a partial complex pain syndrome support group would be even harder to find. Um, but no, I gain just as much,
And
and I don't
Sheila,
get dressed up and get in the car.
Sheila, are you finding the same reaction that going to a virtual support group has been embraced by participants once they try it?
They do. And especially during this time, because people can't get out as much. So even though they don't get to go and give a hug to their friends in their support group or shake their hands, or they can still see and talk and communicate. And it's amazing. We still have about 15 support groups that meet virtually every month. And some of them meet weekly. Our MS group meets weekly. Our CP group meets weekly. Our caregiver group. But you can go to Connectability at Warm Springs website, and it has a list of all of our support groups and a description of them and links on how to join meetings. Or,
What's
of
the
course, give me a call.
What's the cost? How
Cost
much?
is absolutely free. We charge absolutely nothing for everything we do. We play bingo. We do scavenger hunts, cooking shows. So there's all kinds of fun things. We also bring in education. Next week we have VIA coming in. Last week we had, my weeks get mixed up. We have different educations throughout the month
That's
as
all right.
well.
And for those who are wondering, if you're looking for a support group, you've got the list there from Warm Springs and your organization. Are there others in the community? If you Google support groups, do a bunch pop up?
Yes, yes. So Connectability, we're a local nonprofit 501c3. And of course, our mission is not to reinvent the wheel. So the groups we have are typically the only group that's in San Antonio for that. But there are multiple support groups out there in San Antonio, and several of them are virtual.
Yeah, because I heard Rebecca say she has not found a lupus support group.
Rebecca, talk to me after the show and we can get one going for you.
Well, that'd be cool. Well, see that? We've accomplished something already.
Absolutely.
Rebecca, we've got about a minute or so left. In 30 seconds, how has support group changed your life?
Let me put it this way. I suffered with lupus for probably years before I knew I had it. And the 2 years that I suffered with the partial complex pain syndrome, if I had been able to meet someone that had the same thing as I did, it would have, I felt so isolated and alone. I couldn't find a diagnosis. If just one person, if I could have, listen, it would have been a miracle to me. So that's, I wish that would have happened. So
Well, Sheila's going to make that happen. And Sheila, you get the last word. What haven't I asked you you want to share with us about support groups?
Well, they're really a crucial part of living with a disability. You really need that outside connection, and having a support group, you got that. And even if you can't attend in person, Connectability is still going to continue doing virtual. Once we are able to go back to the normal meeting in person, we will continue. Well, meet in person and have that meeting a virtual meeting as well. So if you can't for some reason attend, you'll still be able to be part of a group and have that connection that you need.
Awesome.
Sharing your expertise and information. Thank you very much. We're going to turn now to Dr. Susan Blackwood, who is the founder and executive director of the Global Pain Association. It was her idea to put it all together. It was her idea to bring together these virtual educational programs, which we have been doing for the last, hard to believe, 18 programs that we have so far delivered, Susan, and we're going to the end of the year.
Well, Ron, thank you so much for moderating all these weeks. This has been amazing. And these two women are amazing. I've been working with them with Global Pain, both on our board and our advisory council. And it's people like them that are helping change the world for chronic pain patients and their caregivers. And we couldn't have done any of this the last 18 weeks or the series that we had last year in person without our sponsors. And so I need to really thank them because all of their support has made this happen. And that would have been ACOG, StimWave, Nephro, the River City Cardiovascular Group, the Scholar Group, Biosciences, Restore Biosciences, all of them. We couldn't have done this without them. Advanced Pain and Spine has also been involved. So we hope that as we continue the series this fall, having 2 of these per month, that we'll be able to have the same kind of support for these really important topics. And I'm encouraging people, if they want to get involved, to go to our website, globalpain.org. They can pull down how to get involved. They can be a volunteer, they can be a sponsor, they can be a donor, and no donations too small. We need all the help that we can get. And when people see the kind of topics that we'll be announcing in the next few days for this next series starting in September, they're going to be thrilled to be joining us. We now have 39,000 people that are joining us, so maybe we'll be able to double that this fall.
Tell us a little bit about, you mentioned people can donate. What does the money do?
It supports these kinds of series with the production that we need, with getting out our social media efforts, continuing to update our website, which is so important for people to have as a resource. But none of our board members or advisory council are paid. We're all volunteers, and we're doing it for the love of this effort.
Well, thank you so much for the work you've done, Dr. Susan Blackwood, the founder and president of the Global Pain Association. I'm Ron Aaron Eisenberg. I want to thank you all for joining us. We will see you in 2 weeks, mark it, 2 weeks, September 12th at noon on the Global Pain Association Facebook page, and every 2 weeks thereafter until the end of the year. Had a great time talking with you. We'll do it soon, right here, for the Global Pain Association.